Okay, gotcha. Okay, can you hear me, Krista?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, continue.
Oh, it's okay. I just noticed like when I'm with just tracking my weight, and I did a couple in bodies, and I noticed my like fat loss went down like a little bit, like 3%. But there's like other factors I understand, like with not being 100% with my meal plan. There's also, gain with muscle. Um, so is that taken in consideration right now with the weight gain, or how
Okay,
does that
are you
take?
asking me, is that why your weight has maybe spiked because of the muscle gain?
I believe so. Yes, I
Okay,
haven't been like really gauging it and going to InBody, because at one point I was in the past where I would go to InBody every other 2 weeks, and I noticed like, either I was doing fat loss or I was doing muscle gain. Um, so I think that's what's going on with me right now.
okay.
Is
This is a good question. And actually, okay, so I'll go ahead and do my best to answer that, and let me know if this makes sense. Now, when it comes to like in-body testing, anything that's like a bioelectrical current to measure body fat, musculature, skeletal, all that stuff, right?
yes.
In-body's an example of that. An Omron, those things that you used to hold at the gyms, right, to gauge your body fat. Those are very easy to manipulate. Now, which that's why I'm not a big fan of them with you guys, especially people in our program. I prefer to go by visuals. I think a visual will really tell the full story. Now, in regards to body weight fluctuation, keep in mind that that is going to be normal on a daily basis, even if you're super adherent with your nutritional plan and everything else that you need to be doing, right? So weight fluctuation daily is going to be inevitable no matter how perfect you are on your plan. And that's due to numerous number of reasons. It could be because you ate more that day than the day previously. Maybe the food sources that you chose that day are higher in sodium. Maybe you didn't drink a lot of water the day before. Maybe you got a crappy night of sleep that night. Maybe you're backed up, you know what I mean? Right? Maybe you're backed up. That could be it. Also, too, it could be because maybe you had a really tough workout the day before, so your body's holding on to extra water to lubricate the joints. So it could be due to a numerous number of reasons. Now, for a lot of you guys in our program, like you guys know that we always want to pay attention to what our weight is doing on average weekly, because that's really where the truth is going to lie, right? Like, okay, what kind of progress we're actually seeing. And obviously with women, you're going to have that monthly cycle. So keep in mind that's something to know. Man, we see on average some of our clients, like they jump up 3 to 5 pounds, right?
Oh,
So weight fluctuation daily is totally normal. Now, and how that correlates to muscle. So there's a few things to know. You cannot build muscle and actually lose fat simultaneously. Now, I kind of lied. What I mean by that is this: there's a few instances where you could build muscle and lose fat simultaneously. I'll give you three different scenarios. Okay, we take for example Exhibit A. We take one person, this individual, we're taking them from going off the couch, playing video games, eating Doritos, right? Just making a complete 180 lifestyle change, and they go from lifting weights, tracking their foods, eating their protein, drinking their water, getting their rest, right? Okay, during that initial change, they could build some muscle and lose fat until their body adapts. And at that point, we're either losing muscle, or excuse me, building muscle or losing fat, depending on what the protocol is and what the goal is, right? Now, exhibit B, okay, you take someone who is active with their exercise, they're consistent with their lifting, etc., but they don't track their foods. Let's say, for example, and they have no idea how much protein they're taking, for example. Let's say they're taking in a very low amount of protein. We bring that up to where it needs to be based off of their goals. They could build a little bit of muscle and lose fat before their body adapts. Right. And at that point, once again, so like someone like me, I can't build muscle and lose fat simultaneously just because of how active I've been over the years. I'm either in a building phase or I'm in a cut, right? Or I'm at a maintenance, right? But I can only do either or when it comes to building muscle or losing fat. Same thing with Natalia and people that are really active. The third, we take exhibit C, an individual who is using PEDs. Guys, I need someone to mute themselves. Okay, let's see. Okay, can you hear me, guys? Okay, then we're good. Okay, so exhibit C, you take someone who's using PEDs. Do you guys know what PEDs are? Just thumbs up or thumbs down. Let's see. Is there a thumbs down? I don't know. Okay. No. Okay. So PEDs, acronym for performance enhancing drugs, aka steroids. So when you see people on social media, right, and they have a very low amount of body fat, but they continue to put on muscle every year while keeping that low body fat, that's PEDs. So I actually know people personally who eat like at a maintenance or even a slight deficit, and they're jacked, right? So that would be the third case. Does that answer your question, Carissa? If you could
Yes, I'm sorry. I
Okay.
unmuted.
Okay. So okay, that answers your question. Okay, great. Okay, cool. So yeah. Weight fluctuation, just for you guys know, it's totally normal. Okay, let's see. Now in regards to everything I've covered on the whole gaining fat through exercise, right? You could get to a point where that happens. Does all that make sense? Do you guys have any questions in regards to what I covered when it comes to that? If you guys have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself, or you could post them in the chat group. Yeah, I want this to be like an open dialogue with you guys.
No questions.
No questions. Okay, cool. Okay, sweet. Now, do you guys have any questions in regards to anything else in the context of fitness, fat loss, building muscle, nutrition, anything like that? I really wanted to cover that initially and give you guys some context on why I was saying that, right? When it comes to gaining fat through exercise. I'll actually give you a story about that. And this is something I talked to one of my mentors about. Jason Phillips. Write down Jason Phillips, guys. He's one of my mentors when it comes to nutrition. But if you guys have an Instagram, give him a follow. He posts out a lot of great content. But he told me about a time that he had a client. She was in her early 70s, okay? And she came to him, wanted to lose fat, right? And she's been struggling to lose fat for years, especially that stubborn fat around the abdominal area, right? Well, when he started to collect data on her, she'd been doing, who remembers Billy Blanks, the Ty Bo guy? Who remembers Billy Blanks? Do you guys remember him? Billy Blanks, that's the man right there, back in the 90s, those VHS DVD stuff. So anyway, she was doing that 7 days a week, twice a day. He was doing his instructionals, eating less than 600 calories daily. Okay. So basically her body adapted to that, right? We got her away from homeostasis and her body started to hoard that fat. So it got to a point where all that exercise, all that activity got to her to a point of being so stressed out that my mentor basically told her, he said, hey, look, the solution to your problem is we're going to have to work out way less, eat a lot more food so your body could adapt to a new intake, get back to homeostasis where we're actually feeling good and not run down. And you're going to have to be okay with putting on some fat. And this is going to be the solution to the hurdle that you have right now. Now, that's a very hard pill for someone to swallow, especially a woman that struggled so many years trying to lose the fat, right? But at some point, there's cases like that where when you look at someone's dieting history and what they've done, not only with dieting, but also too with exercise, that eating more food and sometimes doing a lot less activity is the answer to get their body back to that place. And so he eventually, I think he said he put her in a maintenance. And when I say maintenance, for those of you that don't know, a maintenance is like basically like your caloric intake. Like that's what you need, the amount of calories you need to kind of maintain your weight. So he built her into a maintenance and then eventually a surplus for like 20 months, over a year and a half. And I think she put on like 13 pounds of fat. But her energy started to come back. She started to feel a lot better. She learned a lot during that period, right? And when they went into a fat loss phase, what do you think happened? The body let go of that fat, right?
That's
that
amazing.
happens. So that's the thing, guys. So it's like, you always want to make sure that you're being intentional and that you're doing the right things when it comes to fat loss or fitness just in general, right? Because principles you have to follow when it comes to fat loss or gaining muscle. One principle for fat loss, as you guys know, if you want to lose fat, you have to be in a caloric deficit, right? If you want to build muscle, you have to be in a caloric surplus. But specificity is important. How you go about it does matter, right? You want to make sure that you're, meticulous and diligent and strategic with how you go about that. So anyway, let's see. Okay. Any questions on top of that, guys? Feel free. You guys got me right here, right now. So if you guys have any questions in regards to, people that are in our program, or Barry, if you have any questions, Christian, welcome aboard.
My question is about just getting started all over.
What? From the beginning?
My question is getting started all over.
No,
not for what you said. Starting all over with a program.
If you're starting all over, okay. Well, the most important thing is just to start and start doing something, and then build up from there, right? So, like, for example, and if you mean by starting over, if you haven't been doing much of anything, right, just kind of lounging around, not tracking your foods, no exercise, let's start by drinking more water. Let's start by getting more steps in. Let's say you're getting 3,000 steps right now on average. Let's start by getting 6 to 7, right? Let's start there and then slowly build up, right? If you haven't really been tracking your protein, start eating more protein. Like, those are little adjustments that you could make that will garner a big results, right? And then once we start doing that, then ask me again and shoot me a message, Barry, and then I'll go ahead and get specific on what we need to do next based off of your goals. Okay. But the most important thing is just to start, right? That's it. I think what happens is a lot of people will start to overthink it because they're like, and that's another great point that you bring up, man. Because if you Google where to start when it comes to fitness, how to get a six, how to put on muscle, you're gonna get 1,000 different answers, right? It's like, do this, do that, do that thing over there. It's like, oh man, this is so overwhelming, right? But just start with the bare minimum, like drinking more water, getting more movement, getting more sunlight. When you go out for a walk, try to get some sunlight. Like, let's say 60 minutes of exposure. I mean, that will do wonders for our health. It's really that bare minimum stuff. You know what I mean? Does that help, Barry?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome, man. It's great to see you, brother. It's been too long.
Thanks. Appreciate it, man.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, cool. My man Wes, and you guys know a little bit about Wes's journey. I was with him on Friday. But yeah, down I think 120 pounds, a little over 120 pounds. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Wes. Over 18 months. Okay. Monica, Christian, Christina, Carissa.
That's a quick question. So so obviously working out 6 to 7 times a week, but how do you know you're doing too much cardio then? Like, I got my weight training down to 4 days a week. I'm on doing the Wonder Woman program. So 4 days a week, but there's a lot of times that I like to do sometimes cardio in the evening or extra working out, like aside from getting my steps, like on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just also really enjoy running. So
Okay.
then I'm like, ooh, sometimes I think I'm doing too much. So I guess, how do you know, like, what that balance is?
Okay, good question. Now, so let's agree on a definition of cardio. So yeah, I would agree with you. Running, I would consider that cardio. Cycling, I would consider that cardio. So on top of the weight training, how many days are you running, and then for how long? How many miles?
So right now I've been, because with the program, I've been trying to keep it down to just like 3 miles to hit my 10,000 steps and not go too crazy. But
Okay.
there's a lot of times on the weekends I like to do like longer runs or get on the bike. I started swimming again as well. So, but swimming I also don't feel is super like cardio based, but I guess it kind of is. So I'm probably running a good like 3 times a week or so, but I
Okay.
haven't really ran more than like 3 to 5 miles.
You said twice a week? You're doing that twice a
Like
week?
2 to 3 times a week. Yeah.
3 times a week, anywhere from 3 to 5 miles?
Hmm.
Okay, so let's just say on average 10 to 11 miles a week, right? And you're currently
Yeah.
in a fat loss phase, right? Right now, are you
Hmm.
in a fat loss phase? Okay. Now,
Correct.
are you doing the cardio with the intention of, hey, I'm doing this much road work because I think it's going to give me a better result in the context of fat loss, or are you doing it because you enjoy it? You're doing it for the cardiovascular, you get the runner's high, as far as mental clarity.
So I just enjoy running. So I've actually
Okay.
been trying to keep it like a zone 2-3, so it's a slower run. So I haven't been like all out running. So just trying to like almost like jogging more
Okay.
so. So I keep it like in a zone 2. So then I also kind of justify it that way too, uh,
Okay.
by not like going like all out running. Um, so it's been kind of like slow running, but just because I enjoy it more so than I'm trying to, right? Because I'm really trying to build muscle. So I also know that doing too much cardio is going to counteract
But
that.
you would have to do quite a bit of cardio to counteract that, especially with how we're tracking our foods and preserving the tissue with the protein. You're fine.
Okay.
Honestly, I think with how much you're running, how do you feel? Do you feel run down? Do you feel tired? Do you feel like you're lacking energy, or do you overall feel fine?
No, I feel fine. Yeah.
I think you're good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
I think you're fine. I think if you were running, let's say, you know, 25 miles a week, I'm like, let's let's cut back a little bit on that. But for right now, I think you're okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Good question. That's a good question, guys. And see, also, you guys are learning by other people's questions as well. But once again, I like to have something a little more intimate, because sometimes we have to cover these discussions on an individual basis. Do you see what I'm saying? So yeah, principles once again, but also too, it comes down to the individual as well. And so sometimes you have to be specific. But yeah, great question, Christina. Good stuff.
Thanks.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? Christian, Monica, Wes, Carissa, Barry, Natalia.
Is that doing cardio? Just one right now. I'm just trying to lose weight. Was doing cardio the best thing?
No, so that's a good question. Nutrition is going to be number one. Yeah. So just so everyone knows too, and I know you guys know I preach on this all the time in the program. There is no such thing as a fat burning workout. You can't burn fat through exercise. You could burn calories, but you can't burn fat. That is all nutrition. You have to be in a caloric deficit if you want to lose fats. Yeah. So yeah, you for right now, Barry, I would recommend, or actually tell you what, send me a message after this call and I'll send you something that you can follow. Okay.
I think appreciate it.
Yeah, I got you, brother. Question. Okay.
I have a
I have
question.
one more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
Who was that? Who we got?
we got 2 people.
Okay, so Carissa, and then who asked the second one? Was that Christina? Okay.
yeah.
So let's get Carissa and then we'll get Christina back on.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So I just had a question. So does it do anything like if I were to do like a strength training in the morning and then do a hit right after? Does that do anything with fat burning? I know you were just saying.
No,
Or is it putting like extra strain on my body?
I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
Like for instance, the thing is, okay, like when it comes to really shaping your body composition, you definitely want to have a methodical program like the ones we build out for you. Now, when it comes to hit, I like hit in the sense of like, as long as you're not stressing out the CNS, you're not doing too much, it could actually be some great recovery. So like, for instance, like for me, like, let's say I'm in a really aggressive cut. I'll have a lower body day, an upper body day, and sometimes I'll throw in a hit workout for a full body, just for some recovery, to get the blood flowing, break a sweat, do a nice stretch after, and just to feel better, right? But in the context of fat loss, tacking that on to my workouts or doing 2-a-days or doing that more often, no, it could start to have an adverse effect in the context of a fat loss phase. Now, when we're in a surplus, right? And like, so for example, Carissa, once we get you really lean, and then once we really like want to grow your glutes or your legs or, your shoulders, whatever body parts you want to focus on stacking on muscle, once we go into a surplus and we start eating more calories, then we could actually up our activity, because, we have the energy to do so. We have the fuel. But
Okay.
remember, when you're in a fat loss phase, right? We're giving up. Fat loss is a catch-22, because you have to be in a caloric deficit to lose fat, right? But you give up and sacrifice one thing, which is adequate recovery. And part of the recovery process is when you sleep, right? And when you eat foods, right? But since we're pulling back on the foods when we're in a fat loss phase, we're not going to feel as great. We're going to start to feel run down at some point, a little tired. Our performance in the gym isn't going to be as great when it comes to lifting, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's what I've been.
So yeah,
mean-
for a lot of you guys, when we're in a fat loss phase, like let's say you come to us and initially you're maybe eating out of maintenance, and we start to pull back on the foods. I actually like to pull back on your workouts. Like I had a client one time, she loved CrossFit. CrossFit, it's fun, it's great, but her goal was to lose fat, right? And she was doing CrossFit 6 days a week, and we started to get really aggressive in the cut. And I said, look, T, we got to pull back on your workouts. It is what it is. For hers, it was a mental block. Do you see what I'm saying? Like she was thinking, oh man, if I'm working out less, it's really going to affect my results. And I was like, no, it's not. I promise you, it's not. It's actually going to benefit our results, because we're going to emphasize recovery more, right? And your body's made through recovery. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it's made in recovery. So she started cutting back 2 days. I finally got her down to like 3 to 4 days a week in the gym doing CrossFit, sleeping better, weight started to drop even more, right? So there's that. Yeah, in a fat loss phase, if we could pull back on the stressors, you usually start to feel better and start to see better results. Does
Got
that
it.
answer your
Okay.
question, Krista?
Yes,
Yeah.
because I've been going like for like 5-6 days a week recently, and I just feel more tired and I just feel more like not bloated, but just swollen. So
Yeah. Yeah. And
wondering-
the more you work out, yeah, inflammation is going to go up, right? That's
Yeah.
normal. That's part of the exercise. But yeah, no, for you right now with what we're starting to do, and right now we're trying to establish a maintenance with you. I know we're focusing on hitting those numbers, right?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
for you, there's no need to work out that often. Like I said, when I was talking to Christina, like with the running, like what's the intention? It's like, well, I just enjoy running. I like it. Mentally it makes me feel better. Great, that's fine. And right now with how much row work she's doing, it's not too much in my opinion where I think it would have an adverse effect with what we're doing.
Okay. Now that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, great question though. Good stuff. Okay. Christina, we'll bring it back over to you.
Okay, so I know obviously if you want a six pack, that's all nutrition, but what is your tips about like working out abs? Because I feel like my legs are getting stronger, my arms are getting stronger, and I'm just like weak in the core section. Like I should be incorporating more like ab workout, or like what should like I just feel very weak in like my midsection. Like I should be like
What
doing
makes you
abs
say
every
that? Are you having a hard time with, like, let's say balance or something, or your form?
I just like even like right now, like slouching, like I just feel like my abs are just like my midsection. I don't feel like my form is bad when like I'm pretty good when I'm actually working out. I think it's more throughout the rest of the day, especially like sitting at a desk all day. Then I feel like I'm like all like my abs aren't engaged enough throughout the day to hold the rest of me up. So I don't know if it's like just because
honestly,
I mean, I have a standing desk, but so I stand sometimes, but I don't know if I should be working my abs out more or if I should just.
To be honest with you, I don't think so. No, I think it's just going to take time. before you build up that core. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that when you're exercising, like any time that you're doing squats, you're doing deadlifts, you're doing lunges, you're doing push-ups, you're doing recline rows, essentially at any exercise, you're always engaging your core. So your core is always working whenever you're exercising. Now, I know it's not being necessarily emphasized like when you're doing sit-ups or planking or things like that, but you are always working your core every time you exercise. So I think with where we're at now, we just have to just keep doing what you're doing. Continue to stay consistent with the weightlifting, be patient. Now, in those off days, if you want to, like, let's say do like some sets of planking, that's fine. You know, you want to do like 4 to 5 sets of 60 seconds of just holding planks, you could do that. Right? Do some like that's
Okay.
like isometric stuff to get into those, you know, those deep muscles in the core that will help out. But I think it's just one of those things that's gonna take time. Yeah. And that's another thing, like to get to where we really want to be realistically, it's gonna take time.
Yes.
Like to become a completely different person and create the body composition that we dream of, like realistically, I tell people like 10 years. Like 10 years of
Okay.
just consistent hard work. You know, I don't know if you guys remember my old business partner, Manny. I mean, obviously I know Barry does, right? And Barry, you know, Manny jacked to the gills. He looks like a Greek god. I mean, you
Oh
see,
yeah.
yeah, just he looks like a superhero out of Marvel, right? And you know, it's funny when I used to hop on phone calls with guys, they would be like, "I want to look like Manny." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a great goal." They're like, "How long is it going to take?" I'm like, 7 years. You know, like just realistically, like looking at it, it's going to take a long time, right? And that's like being consistent with everything, tracking your foods, your workouts, tracking your lifts, getting your rest, drinking your water, doing all that, but no, I think you're right on track with what you need to be doing. You know what I mean? Because I think with you, Christina, from what I've heard from Natalia, we've hit this stride. You know what I mean? We've created a lot of you created a lot of consistency with your intake, a lot of those other things. So we just have to keep doing it.
Yes, most definitely. And it took me like a good probably 3-4 months to like get there. And now
Yeah.
I'm like really momentum. Like now it's like, okay,
Yeah.
like, right. It took me a little while to even like I was part of the program and I was doing it and going through the motion, but it took a little while to like really like get the train going. So
Find that stride. Yeah. And that's how it is for a lot of people. Like everyone's different, but I always tell people like, give your guys self some grace because, with what we're teaching you, it's a lot, it's a learning curve initially. We're trying to develop a protocol that works best for us. And we can only, with how we track data, as you guys know, we're always operating in the past, right? So once we get that, we make the tweaks and adjustments, we lay it out. Okay, let's give this a shot. Okay, what happened here? Well, why we fall short here? What can we do better next time? What kind of solution we need to come up with? Okay, let's try this. And then finally we start putting it all together where it's like, okay, now we're doing the steps consistently, we're doing the water consistently, we're doing the sleep, we're doing the workouts, we're hitting our protein, we're doing all that. That's when the magic starts to happen. When we start putting it all good together synergistically. So for you, I know that was a long tangent, but we just gotta
no, be patient.
Yeah, and that's it. I wish I had a sexier, funner answer, but that's just it.
That works.
Like honestly, like success, especially in the realm of fitness, it's boring. Like it's just boring. Like if you guys, once again, kind of like what we talked about earlier, like all the people that we see on social media, we're like, man, they have a great body, like they're so disciplined. If you look at what their schedule, what they do day in and day out, oh my God. I mean, it's boring. I mean, it will cure insomnia when you look at it. It'll put you right to sleep. It's like, oh my God, this sucks. You know what I mean? Like this is so boring. But people, there's like a negative connotation to boring. And it's like, no, boring is good. Boring is what gets results, doing the same thing day in and day out. And they're just making those tweaks and adjustments where necessary. Right? That's it. This is
Perfect.
simple stuff with what we're learning, right? It's simple, not easy. It's not easy, but it's simple, right? So anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. Okay, let's see. Christian, I've been cutting for over a year. Do you recommend maintenance if my body fat is 16% if I want to get abs? Okay, let's see. Okay, Christian, let's go ahead and get you involved in the chat. Okay, I don't know if you could unmute yourself. Can you hear me?
Yes.
What's going on, brother?
How you doing?
Good, good. You can hear me?
Yes.
Uh-oh. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, go ahead, ask your question.
Well, I was just wondering because I've been cutting my weight as a weightlifter, and I've been cutting for over a year, and my body fat percentage is 16, and I now have a goal where I want to get abs now, and I've been a super for a while, so I just feel like cutting all that weight for over a year, it made me motivated to cut down even more and to see results in getting abs. So I was wondering what you would recommend if I should start maintaining my weight as I am right now, or keep cutting until I see what I want to see.
Great question, man. Well, 16%, that's pretty good, man. How much weight have you lost?
I think it's 74 pounds that I lost
In a year?
in over a year.
Everyone, let's give him a round of applause. That's amazing. Yeah. Dude, 16%, you're not too far off from a six-pack. You're getting close. Okay, let me ask you this. Have you done okay, and when you say you've been cutting, you've been in a caloric deficit for over a year, losing the weight, correct?
Right.
Now, let me ask you this. Have you done any kind of maintenance phases, like also known as diet breaks? Have you done any of those? Do you know what I'm referring to?
My wife speaks to me about that all the time, but I feel like ever since I cut the weight, I was like, let's just go down to 73, which is what's my next weight class to go down, so that if I go down even further, I can probably see the results that I want. But I don't know, like I'm a little confused, or I need a coach, or I just need some recommendations.
What's your caloric intake like at right now? Do you know how many calories you're intaking?
Yeah, I'm 2,000 calories right now.
And how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
5'7", and my in kilograms is 81 kilograms right now.
81 kilograms. Where are you from, brother?
Anaheim.
Anaheim. Okay. Anaheim. Say kilograms. I like that. Okay. 178 pounds. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Weightlifter. Okay. So yeah, I would recommend doing a diet break. Because the problem is, and just so you know, like how we approach it with our program is you always want to rinse and repeat that process depending on how much weight you have to lose, right? So Wes could attest to this. We've lost 120 in the last I think 19-20 months, right? And so we go into a cut for about four months, and then we'll go into a maintenance for 2. And so the maintenance really is just eating more food, and that's what's going to keep your metabolism healthy and revved up. That way, when you go back into a deficit, your body responds the way that it should, and it lets go of that fat. But what happens is if you stay in that deficit for too long, you can start to become adapted to that intake, right? And then you have to get lower and lower with your calories to lose anything. But at that point, it becomes tough because if you're still, lifting weights and you're being active, then you're not going to feel very good, right?
That makes sense, because right now, lifting, like snatching, is fine, but then once we move into clean and jerks, I feel fatigued. I don't have as much energy, or okay. I have to eat in between the snatch and clean jerk.
Okay. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because Natalia, she used to do Olympic lifting too, and she had that hunch when you said the kilograms, right? Okay, just so you guys know, right? There's a triangle of awareness. We'll talk about this in the program, when I'm posting, right? There's aesthetics, performance, and lifestyle. Okay, aesthetics, performance, and lifestyle. Trying to achieve all 3 of those things from like a nutritional protocol is very tough. Right. So like, for instance, Christian, with you, trying to get a 6-pack while still perform well when it comes to you're lifting is going to be tricky. That's going to be
Okay.
tough because you're pretty aggressive right now with how we're going about that in conjunction with how you're lifting. How'd you hear about us, man? Do you follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or
Yeah. I followed both of you on Instagram.
follow us both on Instagram? Do me a favor, man. Shoot me a message on Instagram, and then I'm gonna
Okay.
need some additional information on you, and then I'll see what I could do to help you out from there. But yeah,
Okay.
that's gonna get a little tricky with performance and trying to achieve aesthetics at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, so shoot me a message on there, and then I'll go ahead and we'll chop it up from there. Okay.
Okay. Perfect. Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Good stuff, dude. Great questions, guys. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we got Wes, Christina. Okay, anyone else, guys? Monica, Wes, you guys have any questions or anything like that?
I don't, I'm good.
Wes, you are good, man. You were the goodest. Doing great, man. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll see you in a couple weeks, mid-October, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome, man. Monica, any questions?
Actually, so I mean, I've been like taking notes.
Good.
Because I feel like I get it. You know, I do have to be patient, and I just started with you guys. And I'm working with Natalia, who, you know, has been super helpful and stuff. And she's given some good recommendations on books, but like, I was wondering if you had any recommendations on anything on kind of learning to be more patient, or, you know, like any good podcast or anything. Just because I've been trying to expand my knowledge in that sense and like focus a lot on the mental side too. If you have any, that would be great.
I do. So two of my guys that I follow strictly for mindset are Jocko Willink, he's a former Navy SEAL, and Wes Watson. Now I'll warn you, Wes Watson, he's a little harsh in his delivery, but his messages, yeah, Natalia's chuckling, that's funny. But his message is pretty powerful. But when it comes to mindset, those guys are usually my go-to when it comes to that. Also too, I think when it comes to a journey like this, guys, is like there's a lot of emotions involved, right? Because usually we have a long-standing history with trying so many different things, right? And so like our mindset or like our association with fitness and health is like failure or like hopelessness, or like we feel like a lost cause, or like nothing's ever going to work for us, right? So trying to get your mind into, you know, a place where you feel confident in what you're doing is really just going to take time. And so it's always stepping back out of the emotions and looking at things logically, right? Because like, especially like with you, Monica, in particular, you know, we just started, right? So it would be irrational to have any kind of conviction in what we're doing, right? Because really the only time we could grow conviction is if we're being consistent with what we need to be doing. And then once we stay consistent, that's when we start to see the results, right? So and also too, this goes for everyone. I'm just speaking in general, like emotions about how you feel about this, guys, and also too just emotions with everything in general, they're gonna come and go. It's part of being human, right? They're gonna ebb and flow, peaks and valleys. You know, one day you're gonna be like, oh, screw this sucks, and then one day you're gonna be like, oh man, I'm super motivated, right? But it's like I seriously, motivation is my least favorite word in the entire dictionary, because it's the weakest force in the universe. It comes and goes. One moment you're motivated, one day you're not. You're just like, I just want to stop everything, right? And so a lot of people will depend on motivation. I need to get motivated. I just want to feel motivated again. I need to get back to that place where I'm motivated. It's like, no, you don't. You just got to get disciplined. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be far and few in between when we feel like doing the things that we know we need to do. So the point I'm trying to get at is just whenever you feel those emotions, when you start doubting things, right? It's always step back from those emotions and look at things logically. and be like, and I always depend on logic because logic is always going to be there. It's very black and white, right? I could always depend on logic. It's like, okay, well, if I do this workout, it's going to move me one step closer to my goal. Okay, I'm just going to do it anyway, even though I don't feel like doing it, right? Or it's like, well, if I don't track my foods, I'm just going to find myself in the same spot or just worse off, right? So even though I don't feel like tracking this or weighing this right now or scanning it, I'm going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? And then the more and more you do it, regardless of how you feel, right? Then you start to feel better about the process. You start to trust it more. You start to have more conviction. You start to see the results. And that's when you start to get bought in. And then having patience becomes a little easier, right? Because you have that conviction. But the only way you could grow that conviction is if you stick to what we're doing and then we do it consistently. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's always going to be the consistency, right? How many of you guys would say you struggle with consistency? Consistency. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. This is going to be the next question. How many of you guys are like avid planners? And Carissa, I know we talked about this, so Carissa could attest to this because we've been, this has kind of been the theme of our journey for the last couple of weeks. But how many of you guys plan your day? Like plan what you're going to do the night before, write it in the journal, plan your meals at MyFitnessPal. Because Wes will tell you right now, he is the king at planning his meals either the night before he goes to bed at MyFitnessPal or the first thing upon waking up the next morning, right? He'll go in the fridge, he'll go in the pantry based off of what he has access to, what he's going to eat that day. He'll plug them in, adjust the servings to hit his numbers, right? That way, the day, there's no thinking. There's no, what am I going to eat today? And then what happens is we'll plug it in, or no, we'll eat it, and then we'll plug it in after. And then we do that with every meal throughout the day. And by the time the end of the day rolls around, right, we're like, oh crap, I'm over on this number, under on this one. I'll just start fresh tomorrow, right? And then becomes a vicious cycle. So the planning our day and making that like a ruthless habit in our day-to-day is what's going to ensure the consistency and the precision, right? And the consistency and the precision is what's going to get us the result. And the result is what's going to grow that conviction. Does that make sense? And then once we grow that conviction, we get a little bit of motivation, right? We're like, oh yeah. So the motivation will be even more fleeting. It's going to come and go like this now, right? So anyway, always good to feel ahead of the game. That's right, Carissa. Monica, does that help? I kind of went off on a tangent, but does that help with? Okay, cool. Guys, it's normal to feel that way, to lack patience, to not have motivation, to have those emotions, those cravings, right? That's totally normal. But it's just always stepping outside of those emotions and just looking at things logically and going, okay, if I do this, even though I don't feel like doing this, I'm going to get the outcome I want. If I don't do it, then darn, there's going to be consequences. I'm going to have to deal with that later, you know? So, emotions normal, that's okay, but always depend on logic because logic won't fail you. It's going to be there. It's a very black and white. This is great stuff. Yeah, Wes, yeah, planning that before is what I've been doing for me. That's the best way, less stress during the day. Yeah, 100%. Because that's the thing, even with the planning guys, it's like, you know, and my favorite saying, like I literally hired a mentor one time. You guys, okay, you guys know because it's a big investment for the program. All you guys know that, right? I hired a mentor one time. His name is Craig Ballantine. He wrote the book, The Perfect Day Formula. I paid him $9 grand to sit in a room with him all day at the Four Seasons in Denver, Colorado, and we just broke down my day-to-day regimen. Right, and he's ruthless when it comes to planning and time management because he says, if you don't plan your day will plan you. That's it. You know, and so we have to plan our day because even though we plan our day, doesn't mean that it's going to go according to plan because life happens, right? And there might be something that comes up that it just requires your attention and you might have to deviate from that plan slightly. But at least if we have a plan, we could always course correct or reference that plan and go back to it and then finish the day the best we can, as opposed to having no plan and just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, right? Is that the same? Seen with the pants, something like that, right? Anyway, but yeah, I had to become more logic again. Emotions aren't helpful. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's tough with the emotional side of things because the thing is, it's like I as coaches, we always have to coach you guys from a factual and logical standpoint. Because when emotions get involved, it's like let's say for example, you're like, man, I know I need to do this. I want to do it. I should be doing it. Oh, I'm just not doing it. Then there's a disconnect there, right? And sometimes you have to have someone step in that just has more tool sets than I do. Like let's say like a therapist where they could guide you through those emotions and figure out why that emotional bottleneck is there, so we could work through that. But look at, like I said, stepping outside and looking at things logically always helps get things done. You know what I mean? Yeah. Also, too, actually, when we get things done, we feel less stressed and less anxiety, and we feel less depressed. So if any of you guys struggle with that, just know that. Anyone familiar with conscience congruency? You guys ever heard that expression before, conscience congruency, or that concept? You guys familiar with that? Okay, so conscience congruency, right? So if you guys ever heard of Ed Milet, anyway, he's big in the influencer space and social media. He's like an avid entrepreneur, super wealthy guy, but super intelligent. And he said one time that broken commitments erode the subconscious mind, which basically he's referring to conscious congruency. So basically consciously knowing, okay, I need to make these changes. I'm going to commit to waking up at 4 a.m. Monday through Friday. I'm going to commit to doing 3 workouts a week. I'm going to commit to tracking my foods. If we make those commitments and promises to ourselves and we don't do it, right, then there's the incongruency. And then what happens is that basically exacerbates feelings of frustration, anxiety. You start to feel more stressed, you start to feel more depressed, etc. And then what happens is you have a hard time discerning where those emotions are coming from. You're like, man, why the heck am I feeling this way? Where's that coming from? Sitting there scratching your head, right? And if you look at people who struggle with that from a mental standpoint, if you look at their day-to-day living, it's very sporadic, right? There's usually a lot of structure lacking, a lot of routine lacking, their habits are poor usually, right? So just know that's a big one. If anyone struggles with that, any kind of anxiety or frustration, overwhelmed, conscious congruency, any promises or commitments you guys make to yourself, I can't stress that enough. Make sure you follow through on it, regardless of how you feel, right? That's it. And I promise you, over time, that stuff will start to go away. What's that?
Giveaway time.
Giveaway time. Sorry, I'm going off, guys. We've been on this for an hour, but we've covered a lot. Do you guys feel you've gotten a lot of value from this call? If so, give a thumbs up. Okay, let's see. Yes. Okay, cool. Heard of them. Awesome. Yes.
Giveaway. I'm gonna write a number 1 to 10.
Okay, so we're gonna do a giveaway real quick, guys. And Monica, by the way, great stuff about patience and all that. Carissa, great questions. Barry, Christina, Christian, great stuff. Wes, thanks for being here, man. Okay, so we're gonna do a giveaway. So I want everyone to write a number anywhere from 1 to 10 in the chat box.
I wrote it on my hand.
We picked a number. So any number from 1 to 10, I want you guys $50 gift card. Okay, write the number in the box, guys, if you want to win big. You guys going on a little shopping spree. Okay, is that everyone? Christian, I don't know where you're at, man, but you're about to miss out. Okay. Okay, what is it?
Okay. The number is
8.
8.
Who's that? Monica. Oh shoot, girl. What's up? Okay. Amazon gift card coming your way. Hit up Natalia on Voxer. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and get that squared away to you.
And come by tomorrow and the next day for a chance to win.
Okay, guys, tomorrow. What am I covering tomorrow? I totally forgot. Anyone tell me?
Binge eating.
Binge eating.
Oh.
Yes. Okay, cool. So we'll cover that tomorrow, guys. But no, this was great. I appreciate you guys coming, asking these questions. I'm glad you guys got a lot of value from the call. Anything you need, we're always a message away. Barry, shoot me a message to get you taken care of. Same with Christian, I'll get you taken care of. I'll try to help out any way I can. And in the meantime, let's keep kicking butt. Proud of you guys. Much love.
Thank you.
Christina,
Thanks.
get some sleep, okay? Krista, get some sleep.
All right.
Good
Good
night.
night. Bye.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. Have a good one. Appreciate you. All right, peace. Later, Wes. Be cool, man. There's it.
Yeah.